Whenever you think about adding and subtracting decimals, I want you to think about money. So we're going to do this example together, and even though it's written horizontally, I never want to add or subtract this way to solve the problem. I want to stack them. And I'm going to use the decimal to help me. So I'm going to start by writing 32 and 4/10 plus 18 and 27/100. So first thing I notice is I have a blank above my 7, and if there is no number, I can assume that that number is 0. So now I can start to add. 0 plus 7 is 7. 4 plus 2 is 6. So I'm adding pennies to pennies, dimes to dimes. Now I'm going to bring down my decimal point. Now I'm adding dollars to dollars. So $2 plus $8 would be 10, and I'm going to carry it to the tens place. 1 plus 3 is 4, and 4 plus 1 is 5. So my final answer to this problem would be 50 and 67/100. So the important part that I want you to remember is when I'm adding and subtracting decimals, I definitely want to start by lining up the decimal, but for my answer, I'm going to end up just bringing the decimal straight down to the answer. So when we refer back to our trick, stack 'em, I want you to know that I'm talking about stacking up my decimals. If I had not lined up by the decimal, I would have written the problem like this. And when I start to add, I would see that I'm adding the tenths place here with the 7, which is in the hundredths place. So this problem, my decimals are not stacked and they're not lined up, which means I could not add this way. Now let's try some using subtraction. When I am subtracting, order matters, so the first number is going to be my top number. So 48 and 78 thousandths minus, I'm going to line up my decimal, 6 and 69 thousandths. So it's really important that when I'm subtracting, I have to remember that I may have to borrow. So I'm looking at my thousandths place first, and I can't do 8 minus 9. If I had 8 pieces of candy, you could not take 9 pieces. So in this case, I have to borrow. And you can't just reverse the situation and say 9 minus 8 is 1. That will never work, and it will never get you the correct answer. So I have to borrow. And if I look next door, I know that I can borrow from 7. 7 will become 6, and I'm going to carry over 10. So now this is 18 minus 9, which is 9. And then I can look in the hundredths place. 6 minus 6 I can do. I don't have to borrow. 6 minus 6 is 0. 0 minus 0 is 0. I'm going to go ahead and bring my decimal straight down into my answer. 8 minus 6, I can think of this like money. $8 minus $6 is $2. And because there is not a number in the tens place here, I assume that that means it's 0, and 4 minus nothing is 4. So my final answer is 42 and 9 thousandths. Now let's try another example. 302 and 541 thousandths minus, let me go ahead and line up my decimals, 25 and 33 hundredths. So I already see I have a blank in my thousandths place in this number, so I'm going to go ahead and add a 0. And I'm going to start by doing 1 minus 0, which is 1, 4 minus 3, which is 1, 5 minus 3 is 2. I'm going to go ahead and carry my decimal down so I know my place values are in the right place. 2 minus 5 I cannot do. If I have 2 objects and you want 5, you can't take 5 from me. When I look next door, I have 0, which means I have to go across to another number and look at the 3. I can borrow from 3. 3 is going to become 2. And I can only borrow over one number at a time, so I have to use my borrowed number and drop 10 off at the 0. So now the 3 has become 2, 0 is now 10. Well, I still haven't fixed my 2 minus 5 situation, so I have to borrow again. The 10 is going to become 9, and now I can borrow to the 2. So 2 has become 12. The reason this works is because I know that with decimals, they go up by powers of 10. So as I carry over my numbers, I'm just borrowing a group of 10 to the next number and the next place value. 12 minus 5 is 7. 9 minus 2 is also 7. And 2 minus nothing is going to be 2. So the final answer to this problem is 277 and 211 thousandths. Try these examples on your scratch paper. Remember to stack the decimal, and when you're subtracting, you need to borrow if you're not able to subtract 2 numbers.